Hey everyone, and welcome to Open. I'm Rhina Valentin, your host of Café con Leche for the next hour. Always inviting you to get social with us online. That is, tweet us and follow us on Instagram at BxRx TV and like us on Facebook at Open BxRx Television. And of course, while you're there, you can follow me on Twitter, FB, Instagram, Insta Stories, and LinkedIn at Rhina Valentin. So our first guest is a Garifuna Afro-Latino social justice activist, chairman of the board of the Garifuna Coalition USA, Inc. He's dedicated to the Garifuna people and culture. And today he joins us to discuss his new memoir, where he dives into his family's lineage and rediscovers his cultural identity. Joining us to tell us more about his new book, Pan-Garifuna Afro-Latino Power of Pride, My Quest for Racial, Ancestral, Ethnic, and Cultural Identity. Please welcome author José Francisco Ávila. Hello and welcome.
Hello, Rhina. It's a pleasure to be with you again. Thank you for the opportunity. It's been a while, and thank you for allowing me to share with your audience my experience.
Well, we are glad to share it with our audience. We've had you on Open throughout the years, of course, serving the Garifuna community and representing. And I got to tell you, this is quite the undertaking that you've taken upon yourself, right? You've definitely added a lot of titles into the one book.
Yes, indeed. yes, indeed. And that was the only way to be able to tell the entire story. It's actually to summarize 33 years of informing, educating, empowering, and advocating for the Garifuna community, as you mentioned. The book is based on actual my the experiences that I lived in that whole process, which at the same time led to, as you mentioned, my quest for my racial, ancestral, ethnic, and cultural identity. But it's actually the work of doing for the Garifuna, serving the Garifuna community, that brought it all together, and it's finally summarized in a 400-page book.
That's a lot of layers. That's a lot of layers. So you definitely prepared everybody for it in the title.
Absolutely. And Rhina, I get even more specific. It's 400 pages, 113,000 words, 14 chapters, and 165 footnotes. Okay.
Wow. And so I know you opened up saying that this is 33 years in the making, but however, prior to getting on camera, you had mentioned that you wrote it in 18 months. So let's talk about that process and why, I guess, you've decided to really dive deeper into your lineage, right? Because we know you as this advocate for the Garifuna community, and while you are and the president of the coalition, now you've expanded your knowledge, and so I just wonder what that's done for you and your identity.
Absolutely, yes. It took 18 months because I decided last year that since we couldn't go anywhere because of the pandemic. I told my wife, well, I finally have the time and no distractions to dedicate to writing the book. So I started collecting the information. And as I was collecting it, of course, to write a book, you got to do research, and there's a lot. For instance, the most difficult chapter for me was reconstructing my childhood and reconstructing my migration to the United States, because I was a child when all of that happened, but I was able to do it. And it was during that process that I recollected the fact that I was born in Honduras. I knew that I was Garifuna, and I knew that my mother was Garifuna, according to me, my father was Garifuna, and so forth. I migrated to Boston at the age of 15, and I know that I'm Garifuna, but whites will call me Black, and Blacks will call me foreigner. And it was that rejection that led me to research my lineage, who I am, who my ancestors were, and so forth. And that started in 1988. I started digging. And in researching the Garifuna history, that's really the basis for the title of the book, because what that did was generate this great pride of my ancestors, finding out that they had fought the British, the greatest power of that time, for 30 years. and that they couldn't be subdued. Therefore, they were banished and they were forcibly deported to Honduras, which is how my ancestors ended up here. So that gets to the subtitle, the fact that I was born in Honduras, and then I'm researching that, and the ancestral homeland of the Garifuna is St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And the racial part is the fact that my father was Garifuna, he was Black. There's no question on that side of the family. We all know that. On my mother's side, we always knew that she was different, but she spoke Garifuna. She raised us, and we always saw her as Garifuna. It wasn't until we decided to create the genealogy tree for that side of the family that we realized that she was a mixture of Spanish heritage, and then at the same time, she was indigenous, but indigenous from the Caribbean, specifically the Cayman Island. So that's where all that comes in, the multi-ethnicity, multiracial, and so forth. And I finally decided that I had the time to really put it together. Now, what's interesting is that finding my identity is that pride was what started my advocacy for the Garifuna people, because I decided that I was going to vindicate our ancestors, and I was going to actually pursue what they had achieved, the greatness of the Garifuna people. And that has basically been the base of my advocacy and activism, is promoting Garifuna pride.
And so in digging so deep, right, and then learning about what your DNA is made up of, what has that done for you mentally? Especially, you know, I mean, as a person of color, you know, historically, we know that, you know, the Spaniards are identified as colonizers, but it's a really awkward position to walk around with and in, knowing that it's in your DNA, right? So It becomes this question of like, so how do you embrace that?
Well, I call this whole process my mental emancipation.
Nice.
That's what I call it. It is my mental emancipation. That's what it did to me. It was accepting my ancestry in totality. It was, again, being proud of who I am, accepting that I am of the Garifuna ethnicity, but I'm also a Black man that was born in Latin American country, Spanish-speaking country, specifically Honduras, but which is where the Afro-Latino part of the title of the book comes in. So that's what it did. It allowed me to embrace my entire identity, heritage, and ancestry. And it actually helped me, because I tell young people, I was 15 when I was rejected, and it was throughout my adulthood. I was about 34 when I finally decided to do my research. And from 34 to now, a young man of 67, has been the greatest achievement of my life. And it was a result of knowing who I am and being proud of who I am and being mentally emancipated.
Oh my gosh, I can feel everything you're saying. You're radiating that pride. Hence, you know, the title of the book, The Power of Pride. That's so amazing. Congratulations to you, Jose.
Thank you,
That's an amazing, thank you for sharing it the way you just did. And then, but before we go, I want to really quickly, because they're wrapping us, what do you want people to leave with in reading your book?
In reading my book, I want people to, again, just like me, embrace their identity, but more importantly, I want people to write their own stories. We need more stories of people of color, especially in this age of critical race theory and all the things that are going around that. We need to write our own stories. That's my message.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. That's what he's saying, Jose Francisco Ávila, definitely encouraging us all to control our own narrative. And for you guys, if you're interested in his book, Pan-Garifuna Afro-Latino Power of Pride, My Quest for Racial, Ancestral, Ethnic, and Cultural Identity, it's available on Amazon. So, and also for more information on Jose, you can visit josefranciscoavila.com. All right, we do have to take a quick break, but when we return, we'll hear about a documentary and dance film honoring the Filipino community during the pandemic. Don't go anywhere.